Okay, so David Wright here, and I'm online with Nick McNamee, and he's in the UK. Now, Nick, whereabouts are you from in the UK, by the way? I keep forgetting.
Yeah, hi David. I'm in Chorley, Lancashire, so I'm about 20, 30 miles from Manchester North.
Right, and what's it like there? A bit chilly at the moment?
Yeah, it's pretty grey, overcast. I don't know, probably about highs of about 7 or 8 degrees, something like that. Yeah, it's not great. Heating's on, put it that way.
Oh, blimey. Well, that black background behind me is I took that picture this morning just at the end of my street. It's cold this morning, fresh start, but beautiful day it's going to be today, and hopefully next week will be nice. So, Nick, we're talking about the Irish passport route. There's different options about moving to Spain now, but a lot of people are not quite up to date on this. And you've been down this route, you're going down this route, you've taken this option. So, Nick, tell us a little bit about the Irish passport route and how it might be beneficial for others to look into it.
Yeah, so we did a quick video on it last year, didn't we? When I kind of kicked the process off of going down the Irish passport route, and so this is just a bit of a follow up and an update because things have moved on quite a bit since then. So the reason I applied, my grandfather was Irish. He was born in Ireland, and he moved over to Manchester where my father was born, and obviously subsequently myself. Now, so we've wanted to move to Spain for a while. We've looked at different routes, NLV, digital nomad, which are all great routes. But the most cost effective for us was foreign birth registration. Now, foreign birth registration is being entered onto the foreign birth register in Ireland via descent from either a parent or grandparent, and it's a route to gain Irish citizenship. So you basically have to provide a number of certificates, birth certificates, marriage, death certificates, and so on to prove the lineage. So obviously my grandfather's certificates, then my father's, and then my own, just to prove that follow through. Once you've done that, you send this off to the office over in Dublin. They then process this, go through it, check everything's correct and right. And if you're lucky and you've done everything correctly and everything tallies up, you then get entered onto the foreign birth register, and you can then apply for an Irish passport, which then obviously, as we all know, gives you the freedom of movement to move across to Europe and wherever you want to do, in this case, Spain.
But when did you start this process?
Yeah, so obviously with COVID, I was going to originally start this at the back end of 2019. And I started to collate things, but then everything shut down for the pandemic. And it was no different over in Ireland at the FBR, the Foreign Birth Registration Office, in that they completely shut down, didn't even work from home, it was just done. So applications kept pouring in. Now their applications, I think at one point, I lost count, but I remember at one point they got to 36,000 plus in the backlog in the queue. And that was unprecedented for them. They had a huge rise after Brexit. But then when COVID came along, everything just started to kind of snowball. So I held off. The information was not to put your paperwork through and so on. You could apply online, but hold off. So to answer your question, I put my application in initially when things started to open up again, mid-November 2021. My online application went in, paid my online fee at that point, and then waited until they said, yes, you can send documents. Now, this opened up, I think, around early 2022, I think. I might be a month or so out there, but around early 2022, they then said, right, send your documents in. We're starting to process again. I had a few things to do with my documents, a few alterations to be made to certificates to make sure that they were spot on. That's an important point with this. You need to make sure that all your ducks are in a row, all the dates are right, and everything is legit. So I had to make a few appointments and a few visits, got my pack together, sent that off. Now that arrived in Ireland on the 29th of April, 2022. So at that point, there was just over a 2-year waiting time. And that was minimum waiting time for the process. And this wasn't even for your passport. This was literally 2-year waiting period for them to go through your application, check everything, and then say, yes, congratulations, you're now on the FBR, on the Foreign Birth Register. So I wasn't expecting anything to happen, really, as I've said to you on a few occasions, till at best mid-24. But a couple of weeks ago, I got the email through saying, great news, looking at your application. Can you just confirm your address is correct, which is the general process. They'll contact you and say, is your address correct? so we can send your certificate and your documents back to you. So they've overstaffed the place and reduced the waiting time, which I think is amazing now, down from over 2 years to just 10 months. I'm seeing people getting approvals now in kind of, they've put their applications in May last year, and they're getting the address checks through and the confirmations that they've been entered. So it's great news.
So at the stage you're at now, what does that mean for you personally? When can you come over here?
So where I'm at now, I need to wait for my certificate to arrive to say that I'm on the foreign birth register. They're currently saying that's taking about 6 to 8 weeks to get back over here. There's various, I think there's delays with printing. I think obviously because they've had a backlog and they've pushed that many applications through in such a short space of time, it's understandable they've got backlogs with getting the certificates printed and sent out again. But people are receiving them in this 6 to 8 week time period. So I'm looking at another, let's say, 2 months at most before the certificate arrives. I then need to get all that documentation and certificate sent back off again to the passport office to apply for my Irish passport. So with regards to coming over there, I would suggest I'm probably looking at the earliest, for personal reasons, at the earliest it's going to be back end of summer next year. That will be the earliest that we come over to Spain, because we've got a lot to do beforehand. But in terms of if we just want to up sticks and move, I would suggest we could probably do that by this summer. If we just wanted to kind of up and go, we could do that. The process has moved on that quick. So if people are in a position whereby they can do that and they've got the money in the bank and everything else, it's certainly worth getting an application in if you've got that line of descent to get on the foreign birth register.
And for you, it was your grandfather.
For me, it was my grandfather on my father's side. Yeah, he was born in County Cork, and I've got all the certifications and so on to prove that. He then moved over to Manchester and got married. Father was born over here, so the descent goes grandfather, father, myself.
What's it cost, Nick? What's the rough cost for this? What have you had to lay out, if you don't mind asking?
Oh no, I don't mind telling you at all, and that's another point that we can go on to with regards to costings. So the initial online application was around €300. It was 200 and something, between 250 300 euros, and that's when you fill in all the information, how your lineage works, who my grandfather was, who my father was, and myself, and you put all that information online. You don't upload documents or anything like that. You just give them the basics. That goes off, you pay your application fee, it then gets logged and you get an application number. So there was about 250 300 euros there. Going through the process, there's various certificates I had to get that I didn't have. So I then had to contact the GRO, the General Register Office, who hold a list of certificates, birth, death, marriage. So I needed my grandfather's certificates, marriage certificates. I got more certificates than I needed, just to be on the safe side. I wanted to cover every.
Get used to it when you come here.
Yeah, yes. So you've told me, but I just thought because the process is taking that long, I just wanted to get everything together and get it across. So I got more than I needed from the GRO. I had to pay for those. They varied in price between 11 to 14, 15 pound a pop. I needed. One, two, three, four. Probably needed about. I got about 10 or 11 certificates, just purely to make sure everything was there. More than I needed, as I said. So there was another 50, 60, 70 pound there. We then had to get a notary to witness everything. So your ID needs to be witnessed. Your photographs that you need to send need to be witnessed. So all through there's a whole load of stuff you need to put in the pack. Without going on and on. In this pack, there are certain documents that need to be signed by a particular person. Can be a doctor, can be a solicitor, can be a notary, but they must be known to you. So there was another fee for that. And then obviously there was the postage on top. So I would suggest we're probably looking somewhere in the region of about £500, £500 to £600 it's cost us, including postage and so on. Which is far cheaper doing it yourself. Than going to an expert. And I'm not, knocking the specialists and the experts and the companies that do it. I'm sure they do a very good job.
It can be done yourself.
Absolutely, Nick, all day long, far cheaper.
So this will, once you get your passport through, then this is going to entitle you and your wife and your family, your children, to come and live in Spain for as long as you like, because you'll obviously be an Irish passport holder, correct?
Yes. Yeah. Correct. Yeah. So
So
we'll be able to come over there and work and live and so on. Yeah.
brilliant, brilliant. So you won't have to do like the non-lucrative visa with the 27,000 income and all this, that, and the other, and go through the process of that. You'll be, although you've spent this money now, which really isn't a lot of money compared to the other options of ways of getting here, you can come here and live and work as long as you like. So it's a great option for people that possibly don't realise that they might have some Irish ancestor in them.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's, you know, we did look at the non-lucrative visa purely because we didn't know how long this delay with the foreign birth registration was going to take during COVID, and they were saying 2 years, but was that going to be another 2? You know, no one knew how long this was going to go on for. So I started to look down the NLV route purely because we put back moving to Spain because of the pandemic. We didn't want to keep putting it back, and we would have possibly gone down that route. Would we have been able to get that amount of money together? Don't get me wrong, I've not got that kind of cash lying around, I just don't. But
Yeah.
I would have tried to find a way to get to that point. But this is a far better route, you know, whereby you don't have to have that money in your account or even find that money. And it's far more cost effective, like I say. You know, just touching on the cost, David, that you mentioned to me that someone had gone to a company to do this for them, and they'd been quoted a far bigger amount of money than that. How much was that?
Yeah, so somebody I know here in Malaga said that they paid initially 450 euros to start the ball rolling, and then they paid another 800 euros, and they were told it could be up to 3,000 euros in total for them to do
Yeah,
it. But really, all they're doing is processing the paperwork that you yourself has done in the UK.
yeah, that's exactly it. And you know, I went down that route. I looked at a couple of companies and spoke to them, and the cheapest quote I got was early 2000s, and I'm talking pounds, not euros. The most expensive quote I got was the best part of £3,000, and they can't process it any faster. They can't get it through any quicker. Because I clarified this with them. You know, they were quoting times to me of between 12 and 18 months, and I pushed that and said, well, how are you managing to get it through quicker? Do you have a separate department you can speak to? Or, well, no, we just estimate it's this. So it's an estimation. There's no way they can get it
Yeah,
through any quicker. And all they're doing, as you touched on, is doing what you can do yourself and follow the
yeah,
instructions on the website and make sure you've got everything that they need. Yes, it's a big list of documentation and things that you need to do, but it's all bullet pointed. And if you just follow it through, get it all together and make sure everything is very clear and marked clearly, you're saving yourself literally thousands if you go into companies like this, you know,
yeah.
to do the same job that you can do.
Well, I always say to people that, you know, you can do a lot of this stuff yourself. I always suggest, if you're not sure, pay a professional to do it for you, you know. But if you've got some common
Yeah,
sense and you do the research like you have done, you know, there are ways of doing it a lot cheaper, as long as you just got to be careful you don't make any mistakes and cross all the T's and dot all the I's like you obviously have done. So yeah, there is that option to do it quickly and cheaply yourself, or you still got the option of getting an expert in to help you. The same with all the paperwork here. It's like the NIE, the new TIE card. Well, not so new now. You know, I went through that process. I changed my residency card to the new TIE card, the electronic ID that everyone has here. Not because you have to, but because I wanted to, and I personally feel it's going to be law soon. So I went through
yeah.
that process myself, and it cost 12 euros to do it yourself. If you pay someone to do it, you can pay up to 200 or 300 euros. And really, if you speak a little bit of basic Spanish, you can do it yourself. But I do understand why people do it. There are the options there, but you've done it yourself. You've saved yourself a lot of money. It's not a big expense for people to do this, especially if they really think that their dream of moving to Spain is what they want. This passport, the Irish passport route, is a really great option that's open to a lot of people that probably don't even realise that, you know. So well
Oh,
worth looking into. So how do people check with this? How do they start the ball rolling and think that they might have Irish ancestors? Is there something they can check? I mean, you obviously knew about your grandfather, but if people are not sure that the grandfather's been dead for some time, how do they check?
Well, surprisingly, obviously, you're saying there that I knew about it. I mean, I obviously always knew that my ancestry was Irish from my name and so on and so on. But my grandfather's been dead since '78, so I didn't know him that well. And for some reason, I don't know why, I always thought he was born in Northern Ireland. And I thought this might be of interest to some people. It's not a rambling personal story, but it's relevant. I always thought he was born in Northern Ireland. So I thought, oh, right, Northern Ireland, I can't apply. It has to be Republic of Ireland. In fact, that's not the case. If they're born on the island of Ireland, then you've got the descent there, you've got the ancestry. It doesn't matter whether it's Northern or Republic. That was one that I didn't realise. So for a number of years, I was looking at all sorts of descent routes. Was I related to anyone from Portugal or Spain or here, there, or bloody everywhere? Quite stupidly, because I've not actually just looked on the website. So to answer your question, the foreign birth registration website, if you just tap in foreign birth registration, and it'll come up, .ie, dfa.ie. On there, it goes through everything very, very simply. It's very straightforward. I've spoken to a few people who seem to have this misconception that they're trying to hide it and not help people. It isn't that at all. I think it's just that it's that much of a complex process, making sure that people are legitimate and so on. That's why it takes a bit of time to get it done. But if you go on the website, it's very clear as to who can apply, and it breaks it down into segments, and very easy to follow tables as well. If you are a child of A who was born by B, and it's all spread out for you. So I'd recommend anyone that thinks that they might be eligible for this, jump on that website, foreign birth registration. You'll get a few companies coming up, sponsored ads, who can do it for you. It's not what you want. You want the government website. You want the dfa.ie website. And
maybe you could send us the link to that, Nick, and I'll put it in the description box of this video. Send us a link to that to help people get straight to it. Brilliant.
Yeah.
So Nick,
absolutely.
also, I want to just touch on this a little bit, because I know personally that you are a real action taker. Just tell us about the ways that you're earning this extra money to push your purse strings a little bit further. You're doing quite a few little sideline jobs, aren't you, at the moment?
Yeah, I've got one or two things going on. So I've got a couple of things that I've started online that are bringing a little bit of money in, but it's nothing major. It's nothing that you can't find from, and this isn't a plug for your books. It's just bits and bats that I've learned from the site and so on that I've kind of looked at and implemented. Hopefully they will come to something one day. But the biggest thing that I'm doing is that I'm actually driving for a Chinese takeaway 2 nights a week. So I'm going out and delivering takeaway food. Now that isn't my only job. I'm in recruitment, and I've got a reasonably good job in recruitment. Don't get me wrong, I'm not earning hundreds of thousands a year, but I get paid reasonably well for it. But that isn't enough. The cost of living in this country is so bloody high at the minute. I need more to be able to facilitate what we want to do and get it over to Spain, because it's eating into what we've got put away. So yeah, I thought about it and thought, well, I need a side hustle, but I need something tangible, something whereby I can see what's coming in. Taking a second job on, yeah, that would have been okay, but this just seemed to fit a lot better. It's in the evenings. I go out, I deliver food. It's not a stressful thing to do. People are happy to see you because you're bringing them something to eat, and it's bringing in a good chunk of money per week for us to put in the pot. So I'd say to anyone that's able to do it, for one thing, to go and have a look at doing something like that. You can do it. There's plenty of companies out there that are looking for, in this case, delivery drivers. I'm not saying everyone should go and deliver food, but just as an example, there's plenty of companies out there looking for this on a self-employed basis, on an employed basis. There's lots of different routes whereby you can bring some more cash in.
But the thing is, Nick, you're taking action. You've got your goal. You know where you want to be, and you'll do anything to get to that end goal. And it's people like you that do really well once they're here in Spain, because you're looking for and finding solutions to problems now, which is going to help you no end when you move here. Because there are some things to get over here, some things to adjust to. But if you've got that sort of mindset, you'll have no problem here. It'll be a breeze for you, and you'll enjoy it that much better, because you'll know how to look for and find solutions. And you know, taking the action you're taking now. And I've been there, mate, as well. You know, I've done some jobs before I moved to Spain. I didn't have enough money in my house sale, so I was working till 10 o'clock at night after my main job. And I was coming home and having my dinner at 10:30, 11 o'clock and going straight to bed. It was a bit of a rough existence for 6 months or more. But at the end of it, I had the money there to come and do it. So it was a means to an end. And if you can think like that, you know, do these extra things to boost the coffers, then, you know, it will give you that buffer once you're here. And I take my hat off to you, mate. It's great, you know. And the people that do well here are doing the same things that you've done, mate. We've been through that, you know, most of us, unless they're really wealthy here and they come here. You know, everyone has to go through different personal experiences and personal hurdles to get over. We're all different. But yeah, when people say, oh, it's all right for you, you're lucky, you know, I just find that the harder you work, the luckier you seem to be. So, you know, my hat off to you, mate, and it will work out for you, I'm sure.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah, you know, I'm quite happy to do anything. You know, as long as it's adding to the pot, I really don't mind doing it. I'll go out and do it. And I'm relatively lucky in terms of, you know, I have support. I appreciate not everyone has some support, and you know, my wife works very hard, and she's taken an extra job on as well to try and add to this, and it fits in very well with us in that I'm lucky enough to be able to work from home, so I can do my job from home during the day. And then my wife's home, so looking after the little one, and I can go out and do this. I appreciate not everyone's in that boat, but what I'm saying is that mine's just a little example of there are opportunities out there. You know, and it might not be a great amount of money, but over the year it adds up. You know, and it's all extra. And I appreciate that people are struggling at the minute. We're struggling just like everyone else. But if you really want to get over there and do this, like you said, you've got to find avenues to go down to make it happen. It won't just happen. You know, no. Absolutely, the foreign birth registration is a great route to go down. And if you're lucky enough to have that ancestry, go for it, do it. You know, it's affordable, relatively affordable compared to other routes. Sure. But you know, that isn't the end of it. You need to put something behind that to make it happen, as in find ways to overcome the obstacles. Like you said, I'm sure there'll be things that we come across when we come over there that we won't have accounted for, and there'll be problems, but nothing's insurmountable, is it?
No, but the thing is, as I always say to people, if it was easy, everybody will be on the next plane out from London airport to Spain. But, you know, it's not easy. But then not everybody takes the same amount of action to live out their dream. And as I said this morning in one of my posts, that, you know, the older you get, the more you appreciate the value of time. And if you're not going after what you want, what is the point of existence? And personally, I've lived and worked in the UK for most of my life, and I'm telling you, it is a better way of life here. The weather just makes you feel better here. Yes, it rains here. It's not always as nice as, you know, I make out it is. We do get a bit of rain here, but when you wake up in the morning, you see like my background behind me there, that's this morning. Every morning you wake up, it just makes you feel better, you know, and there's less stress here, and it is cheaper. So, you know, you're going to have a better life here. It's definitely a better way of life for your kids. So hats off to you, and I can't wait to meet up with you when you're out here. And this is a great option for people. It might not be for everybody, obviously, but I appreciate your time today, Nick. And we'll share that link if you pass it over to me in the description box. Maybe we can help some other people go down this route.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, no, I'll send you the link. And if anyone's got any questions, like I say, I'm not an expert, but I've been through the process, so I can answer most questions. I'm happy to help wherever. But yeah, I'll send you the link, David. Absolutely.
Brilliant. Thanks very much for your time today, Nick. We appreciate it. Thanks a lot, mate. Cheers.
Welcome. Yes. Thanks, fella.